It is always strange to catch a friend or lover talking about you because rarely have I caught anyone speaking behind my back kindly. It makes sense though. Love is promulgated. You can see when someone genuinely likes another, and you probably do not even have to ask. True love will speak its truth. For many years, I was the only one in love with my partners, my friends, and my jobs. Yet I was not truly in love because they never made me happy, nor presumed that though my demeanor was joyous, I needed to have reciprocity. In essence, I was in love with images, which meant I wasn't really in love at all. When I caught my old bestie Momo talking about me, I felt almost ridiculously stupid. For Momo, there was not one person she did not speak ill about. Yet at the time, I genuinely believed if all you do is laugh with someone, where do they get the gossip? I'd completely forgotten they could invent it. Personally, I never understood the dynamic of Momo, but to Aramis it was clear. She was biracial and thus light-skinned. To him, she had light-skinned tendencies like oversensitivity and stirring the pot. While Momo did have these qualities, I did not understand how they stemmed from being biracial. But to Aramis, it was because she was a symbol of love between two warring communities, and thus in the in-between. So she could not help to bond via trauma. It was her colonizing tendency. It was so curious to me how easily he had turned her into a grander symbol of the interworkings and intersections of race and society, because it triggered my own penchant to be really deep about something that is so simple. She just really liked gossip. Growing up, my father hated his mother, excusing why he ruined the lives of so many women and worked to leave them poor, both spiritually and materially, because of that hatred. For him, growing up poor with a dislikable woman explained why he relished destroying the women he liked, even loved until they grew dislikable to themselves. Yet the ease at which my father diagnosed his evil and even rooted it to a justification made me uncomfortable because to him, justification meant absolution. But it did not erase to me the smirk he had when destroying someone. It was a smirk so similar to Momo's, the sheer glee of painting someone and their behaviors as so much lesser than what they were or than yourself. She, like my father, had no loyalty to anyone when it came to talking ish about everyone, even the ones that helped her. I know when I had no home, Carol made sure I had a place, but she's bipolar, Momo declared. I met Carol. She seemed nice, I replied, thinking there was such a thing as a neutral response with a gossip, completely forgetting again that they invent stories to tell. She yelled at me that I don't put the toilet paper correctly, Momo replied. Is there a wrong way to put it? I questioned. Exactly, she said as my neutrality went out the window in her eyes. This only triggered her to talk more about everyone and Carol, including our mutual friend Jenny. At the time, according to Momo, Jenny was in a loveless marriage and confined to the poor contracts and concepts of her cultish parents. These were not unfactual statements, but the joy and almost Oprah-level speeches that they would ignite in her felt biblical. She had a spiritual connection to the power gossip gave her, and while Aramis painted it like some light-skinned reverse Uno, the judged becoming judged, or the one that never felt enough of one thing, proving that she was more than enough for anything. I really believe she just enjoyed gossip. Her nature is nurtured by factors beyond us, but still, our nature is nurtured by factors beyond us, but still, it doesn't deny our nature. I needed to believe that. I needed to feel that because it was society's penchant for symbols, grand speeches, and exchangeable beliefs that being deep and being complicated were one and the same that made me oddly unhealed. If my father's only excuse for his sadism was that he was raised broke by a broken mother, then it ripped me from me. It ripped me in an odd way from healing, from the basic truth that he liked it. In essence, the reasons for the malice did not seem good enough to explain the pleasure in it. On the contrary, they seemed too weighty and schemy for how simple could possibly be. What if people just genuinely like their darkness? Well, I hope she finds happiness, I said, sipping on my margarita. You see, you judge people so hard, she giggled. I looked at her and wondered how my statement transferred into a critical theory about Jenny's marriage. It felt like a really big response to what I said and perhaps leeway to an actual truth she was going to reveal. or really was saying behind my back. I've been saying this to others. You always have opinions, she yelled, laughed, as if to lighten via chuckles her loud public declaration that I was someone I was not. I looked at her like, what the? Surprised by how wrong she felt about me, not realizing that though our entire friendship, she never felt right about anybody. Throughout our entire friendship, she never felt right about anybody. Even her beloved family she gossiped about, and they would be surprised at the things she revealed to me because I have a real knack for attracting gossips. If I called my father's other family to tell them everything he did and claimed to feel about them, I would be a liar, but in truth, I am his tomb. He knows I will not do that. It is not in me to gossip, even about a gossip, which is why they enjoy me. I became a physical vault for where they spiritually fail but take pleasure. Yet I was a fool believing that being lighthearted or building someone else with my commentary somehow balanced or covered how vicious Momo, my dad, could be in their rumored revelry. In the end, you can't balance someone who's extreme, and gossip is extreme. I called Aramis for comfort, but all he could say was, light skin. On one hand, I was torn if Momo and my dad were gossips that realized their darkness and resigned to it, or were they gossips and realized their darkness and enjoyed it. The difference from me was strange because the latter meant they were evil while the former meant they were wounded. Either way, they were bad for me. Moreover, I was hurt that Momo was telling people I liked that I did not like how they were living, when in truth it was her. I felt she had made me for no reason the criminal of her crimes, and she was my only bridge to them, and I had not seen it was burning. She made herself present in every aspect of their life. But I was gone, beginning a new phase of my depression. Isolation. So, who were they going to believe? A kind ghost or a shady person? A shady presence. Okay, I've been flubbing up lately, but this is good practice. So there's a lot to unpack in this episode. I know it's very delicate to speak about light-skinned versus dark-skinned. But I wanted to be honest about these stories because these are, this is how people really talk, especially in communities of color. And what I felt is a tendency that we do as a grand society, not only in communities of color, is that we use these giant systemic emblems to perhaps pacify and kind of to perhaps pacify how uncomfortable certain people's behaviors are, how common bad behaviors may be. I felt when he said light skin, beyond the problematic nature of the statement, was just this feeling of, does it have to be that deep? And if it is that deep, does it change how it affects me? And it's something that I mentioned too in my wondering of, because my father would do horrible things to me and my mom and then claim, I'm just hurting. I'm just lost. I'm sorry. I'm going through a rough time. There was always a wound, either, it's so hard for Latino men in this universe. It was either this giant systemic reason or this personal one. And either way, it absolved him from his guilt of causing me harm, of causing my mother harm. And it's something that grand excuse for really guttural behaviors. I found that I would do that in the sense of not excusing my behaviors, but excusing other people's behaviors. If my boyfriend mistreated me, oh, he comes from a difficult family, how it is in the South. Like just really big, even when you think about it, okay, what does location have to do with the fact that he cheats? What, is that a Southern thing? When you really think about it, does it excuse it? And either way, you don't have to stay. And I felt like that was the dynamic with Momo and my dad in terms of gossip, but in terms of really poor behaviors, this kind of, you just have to stay and accept my flaws, but they're dangerous for me because this is so crazy because as I was reading this episode, I really, really think I'm stupid. And, And I have to, it's why I'm not friends with gossips anymore. Maybe they could be in my friendship group, but I'm not hanging out with them personally. Just because she would talk about everybody, and then we would go on and we would have like really laughs. I like funny people, and I like people that think I'm funny. And I'm a funny person. So she would just giggle at everything I said. And her part of the dynamic of the friendship was, I'm going to talk about everybody. And I didn't really, it's so crazy because I didn't really see it as gossip, because she would frame it like, oh, you didn't watch 2020 last night? Oh, this is the new episode of Dateline. Let me hand it. She was a storyteller, and she framed her stories as if they were a reality show. And I completely forgot these were real people. These were people that I've hung out with. And I'm not the type to repeat gossip or kind of reveal the gossip. And I think that was, in some ways, why I have always attracted gossipy people. I'm not the type of person I don't talk about you behind your back, but I can't say, and that's what I'm realizing as I read this episode, that I don't listen. And I genuinely thought, because we were having so many laughs and we were always hanging out, that there was no story she could make of me. Because, she'd spend 20 minutes like talking about Carol, and then we would watch a movie and we would laugh at the movie and we would dissect the movie. And it's something that I noticed with my father's dynamic, especially with entertainment. He would say the most horrible things about his other family, about me, and then we'd talk about music. And I love music. And it was like, have you heard this artist? Have you heard of that artist? And he kind of trained me to only remember the lighthearted and not see that the gossip portion, that was serious, or the abusive portion, like when he verbally berated me, assaulted me, that abusive portion was forgettable. But the problem is, it came back up because I would find out the things my father was saying about me and my mother behind my back. And in this case, Momo kind of told me, I'm talking behind your back and I'm telling people you're way more judgmental than what they think. And because at the time I was picking up a really bad habit, which is kind of, when I'm depressed, I isolate. And it's something my mother did growing up. She was overwhelmed by illness, by my dad, by work issues, money. She was very overwhelmed throughout my upbringing. And that made, again, only entertainment the only access point I had with people that I loved. And it's like, watch a movie, watch a TV show, laugh, and then disappear. And yeah, wow. The more I talk, I'm like, whoa, what are the details here? I didn't even realize I isolate like my mother. I just realized that right now. Okay, future episode, alert, alert. But yeah, I hang out with people and then I go away, and it's something that I spoke about in conscious travel, but I didn't even realize until I'm speaking. I've always traveled because I love travel, and then my friend commented, is it that you love travel or that you just don't feel you can stay? And it's something that now I realize perhaps I used to do, and to my own detriment with my friendship groups, because I was always a floater. I've always had like 5 different friendship groups at once, and that's like a low. And I think she relied on the fact that maybe I would come for the party, maybe I would come for a good time, but I wouldn't stay. To just spread this venom about me that I was talking about everybody. And the truth is, I don't like gossip because I feel it distracts me from me. I don't need to know whether others are doing well or they're doing worse than me. I need to figure out how I do better for me, how I do my best for me. And it's not like, not focusing on others helps me focus on myself. I think that's why I started Daddy Recovery. I'm here. I don't focus on others, but I don't focus on me. I don't want to play any games, and yet, but I don't play anything. I don't play. And with Momo, I guess and it's something that I did with my dad, and wow, this is so revelatory as I speak. I just thought the fun was enough for them to shut up. If all we do is laugh, and my father, we laughed and he just abused me, just did a mental, emotional rampage on me, and then we'd giggle about a new TV show. If that's what we're doing and you don't say what you did, how could you say I did something? The only time I participate in our conversations and our relationship is when I'm trying to make you laugh, when I'm trying to talk about entertainment you like. Like, that's my only real participation. And when you're a gossip, you'll invent the rumor if you have to. And I think that's why I put both aspects. I put the, Aramis and the light skin excuse, because I think it was emblematic, even problematic symbol of what we do, which is to try to make things very complicated and these overarching symbols, which is not necessarily untrue. I think that the individual experience is emblematic of the familial experience, the communal experience, the historical experience, right? The political experience. You don't live in governments and politics that do everything to control and kind of wean everyday life and not say that it doesn't affect you every day and historically. But I think for my father, and I mentioned it, they would smile when they gossiped. They were entertained by their gossip. They were entertained by their stories. My dad loved saying how mean his eldest daughter and his wife were. He loved saying they were horrible, almost as if, because he knew I wouldn't say it. And if I said it, I would be the bad guy, because to them, I'm sure he said I was mean. And that inescapability of I'm here hanging out with somebody that is killing my image, and I don't defend myself or separate myself from them or even realize what they're doing, because I don't know how to stay. I don't know how to put myself in places where I want it, where people want me to stay. And in the end, our friendship was ruined. And I can't really say I never, befriended another gossip after that, but it's something that I've seen in perspective, this kind of hindsight 2020 of not letting everybody enter my life just because they want to enter, not always making things so complicated and symbolic to excuse really simple behaviors, especially because I don't understand them. Like, I don't understand why you will start rumors about someone. I don't understand it. But perhaps I don't understand it because I'm a good person. And that's what I'm starting to say with my dad. Like, as I unpack and I continue daddy recovery, there's so many things that I'm picking up about his behavior that totally perplexes me. Like the fact that he didn't love me. Like, I just don't get how he didn't love me. And it's because I couldn't see a child, let alone my child, and not love them, not want to die for them, not want to do everything to protect and prosper them. And my dad wanted me dead. Like, he really did kill me in some ways. So yeah, I hope I best explained the complexity of this episode and kind of did justice, because I know the things that I mentioned are delicate topics, like light skinned versus dark skinned, but I brought it up because I think often we judge people's outer to excuse, diminish, or silence their inner. You're not allowed to have thoughts. You're dark skinned, you're light skinned. And it goes both ways. We either use it to pacify, excuse their bad behavior, or paint their good behavior as just somehow not good enough. And for me, and I said it in No Cuddling, I just really want to get to the essence of people, because I've lived under images for so long and it has not worked for me in terms of getting genuine happiness. So check out daddyrecovery.com. Check out Deandra on all platforms. Please follow the Daddy Recovery Podcast on all platforms as well. And just thank you so much for joining this journey. All right.